Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Colorado Rockies. This is episode, what is it now, 15? Yes, 15 for our playthrough, and we have finished the 2029 regular season. And you can already hear it in my voice. We won 101 games in the regular season. It was a beautiful regular season. We had a lot of stuff that worked out very nicely. We ended up with the third most runs scored in the National League, eighth best pitching staff in the National League, first in strikeouts, third in defensive efficiency, third in batting average. Ezekiel Tovar had a phenomenal regular season, had an 8.4 WAR season. It was a 54 doubles, 26 home runs, 40 stolen bases, 120 RBI season for Ezekiel Tovar, and that is, of course, alongside his extremely good defense. He is on pace to be a contender for MVP, although Ethan Salas is also very, very good. We'll have to see if we'll just have to see if he can beat out a 40 home run catcher who batted 320 and had impeccable defense. So, unfortunately, it could go to Salas. It probably should, but I'm hopeful that it goes to Tovar. Charlie Condon had a good season. He ended up having 51 home runs, 148 RBIs, only had a 3.3 WAR season. Unfortunately, that batting average is still a little bit of a troublesome spot. But the power is absolutely there, and we'll be continuing to hope that his development continues on with those last little bits on his contact, and he might be able to improve maybe a little bit of the eye. I don't know. We'll see. We're probably going to try to get the last little bits of that Avoid K in the off season. At this point, I think I've already got some stuff going for our player development period at this point. But as you can tell from my voice, we did not win the World Series. We got into the division series against the Cincinnati Reds. They were a very good ball club. They're basically the National League Central's version of us. Really good offense, not the best pitching staff, and unfortunately, right before playoffs began, we were alerted that Riley Green was injured, and he was out for all of playoffs. Unfortunately, we lost potentially one of our better batters. um, it's still an injury problem for Riley Green. It just seems to be the one thing he's having problems with is staying healthy. He had a good, decent season for 107 games, a 4.7 WAR season. If you tack on the rest of the 50 games that he's missing, he's probably looking at upper five WAR seasons. But it's just it's hard to say that he's going to be useful if he keeps getting injured right before playoffs. So unfortunately, we did not beat the Cincinnati Reds. We lost to them three straight. They ended up going on to the World Series where they lost to the Yankees in 6 games. The Yankees had a very good season. They've been riding on the backs of Brent Rooker, Aaron Judge, and Oscar Solis. They've also, of course, this means that Shane Bieber gets his second World Series ring in 2 years, even though he was out for the World Series or most of it. I think he pitched 0.2 innings pitched against the Cincinnati Reds in, I believe, the first game of the World Series, and then was put on the IL. So unfortunately, he is injured again, but he has won now officially back-to-back MLB World Series championships with both the Rockies and the New York Yankees. So I guess he wins the deal at this point. He's coming out like a bandit. But unfortunately, it was disappointing to see us go out in 3 games, especially to the Reds. But we really did not have much of a pitching staff outside of our bullpen to speak of. It was just begging our offense to be able to actually do a good job. And I'll kind of walk you guys through how the season went at this point. The All-Star game was great. I believe we had two or three representatives in the All-Star game. Yeah, we had Charlie Condon, we had Bobby Witt Jr., and Ezekiel Tovar in our All-Star game representation. For rookies, of course, it was going to be Larry Kunkel, and I think it was just Larry this season. Yeah, it was just Larry Kunkel this season. We'll be trying to get some more of our younger prospects into the system. And of course, that went through Charlie Condon. Charlie Condon won the home run derby, topping Brady House in the final round by a final score of 23-22. So congratulations, Charlie Condon. We have our first ever home run derby winner for the Colorado Rockies in Charlie Condon. He also won MVP of the All-Star game. So it was Charlie Condon's weekend, basically. He ended up hitting a 2-run homer, I believe, that helped them win in the top of the 8th, helped them stave off the American League. So it was a good season for Charlie Condon. We're still watching all of our prospects we've traded away. I'll talk about those in a little bit. Jared Thomas had a good day against the Columbus Clippers. We have him shortlisted, so we still get some minor reports about him. He played the entire season in AAA. I don't think he'll be as big of a consequence of trading away as some of the other starting pitchers that we have gotten rid of, and I will talk about those in just a little bit of time. Now, here's the interesting part. We had managed to acquire Luis Castillo. If I can go back to his history real fast, we had managed to get him in a trade with the Pittsburgh Pirates. We gave them Hidalgo, Rincon, and Feltner. And I think I talked about this in our last episode. And if not, then that's what we ended up doing. And he threw a masterpiece, a complete game shutout, 5 hits, 8 walks, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. And 2 days later, he decided he wanted to donate a kidney to a sick sister, and thank goodness they successfully transplanted the kidney from Castillo, but unfortunately that also meant that he was gone. He retired immediately. So I don't know what OOTP was trying to tell me about that, but regardless, we lost Luis Castillo and that trade for basically we had 3 really good starts from him, and then he was done. So I don't know what that means. We instantly had to go and make another deal, so we ended up trading for Nick Martinez from the Cleveland Guardians. We gave them Ariel Dehigo in that deal. I'm hopeful it doesn't come back to bite me either, but you never know what happens there. We had Nick Martinez for the season. He ended up doing 11 starts for us out of the rotation spot. He is wrecked, but we are going to have him for one more season. The Guardians have 60% of his contract retained for next year, so he's like $2.5 million, basically. It's a good deal for us in the end. We ended up signing some more people over the course of the rest of the season as we try to find some more depth for our minor league system. We got some good and bad developments on some of our players. We were able to get one really interesting prospect, not amazing, but by AAA standards, he's 3.5 stars. He's only 17 years of age. So this is a discovery player about here. Could be interesting down the road. We'll have to see about that. Otherwise, Alex Gonzalez got reliever of the year for the rookie ball system. We got more player development stuff, more players that were discovered, and then we got some roster expansion. Ty Briscoe got the, I believe this is a single A reliever of the year. Ricardo Adames was another person we picked up over the course of our scouts discoveries. We had Rolando Garza, our Spokane Indians or our single A manager, got manager of the year. This is his first time winning that award, which is kind of surprising. But he ended up getting manager of the year for single A. Ty Briscoe got, I guess, pitcher of the year and reliever of the year. Yes, he got pitcher of the year and reliever of the year for the Indians. I don't know how you do that, but he did get a good season down there. And then, of course, Samuel Deduno continues to be one of the best managers we have in the minor league systems. He's won his 4th Manager of the Year awards for the Fresno Grizzlies. They ended up finishing in first place. They did not win the California League this year, but they still had a very good season. Gregory Sanchez was one of the better pitchers for Fresno. He did very, very well. He's been given the honor for that one. Jose Hernandez also did very, very well for them on top of that. Patrick Spencer also has had a very good season for the Fresno Grizzlies. They've had some good stuff, but I don't think any of them are going to be that great. Shortly after that, we got our playoff clinching day. We ended up clinching playoffs right in the middle of, what was that, September? Yeah. Middle of September, we went ahead and clinched playoffs. LMAO Hernandez got reliever of the year for the Isotopes down in AAA. He had a good season in AAA, not so good in the big leagues. We are hopeful that maybe he can continue to develop a little bit better and get back to the big leagues, but otherwise, no. We won the West on September 23rd, and then Larry Kunkel got pitcher of the year for the Isotopes in AAA. He had a 5.5 WAR season, and this is not our lone good news. Everyone else is developing quite nicely in the majors, and we have a whole lot to talk about in terms of our personnel. But Larry Kunkel is ready to go. We are going to have him play in the big leagues next season. I'm hopefully he can get up to 3.5 stars developed and get a little bit more of these pitches done. If that can be the case, and the stamina might be able to come back up, he is very, very good. We're also hoping that Juan Fien, even though he hasn't developed as well as we liked him to, he might be able to still be a decent starting pitcher in the big leagues. I know his AAA numbers are still for him being 4.5 stars, so he's a borderline quad A player, and I think he'll be able to do just fine. I think he'll be okay. We are expecting to have both of them up in the big leagues next season, trying out at least in spring training. We continue to find more prospects over the course of the season at that point, and yeah, that's when we found out that a separated shoulder for Riley Green meant that he was going to be out for about, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks. This was going to cover basically all of playoffs. That was discovered on September 30th, literally 2 days before the end of the regular season. We went ahead and got into regular season time, or sorry, end of regular season, got into playoffs, ended up facing against the Cincinnati Reds and promptly lost to the Cincinnati Reds, unfortunately. We have continued to do all of our scouting practices for the international prospects. We have quite a few people who are interested in this season. There's actually a very, very low quality pool this year, so we're not entirely sure how this is going to work out, but we're hopeful that we can be able to grab at least one or maybe two of these people and be able to work through that. We got to the off season because, of course, we simmed through playoffs, and our new budget for the new year is going to be $236 million. That means we have about 170 million for our payroll. We are currently sitting at about 161 million. That's before arbitration is going to come through. We are not going to be offering arbitration to Bowden Francis, Sal Frelick, and we're going to be letting Jose Leclerc and Eduardo Rodriguez leave the organization. So we'll save a couple million that way. We are going to keep on Chase Hampton, Chase Dollander, both the Chase bros, basically. Edgardo Enriquez has done pretty well, and Richard Lovelady will continue on with the team after being acquired in the offseason. No, claimed off waivers from Baltimore. So we'll keep him on for the bullpen. Carlos Rodriguez will stay on as a depth starting pitcher, basically. And then a whole bunch of minor leaguers are going to go away as well, unfortunately. So we'll save a couple $1,000,000 there. We're hopeful that the offseason will give us maybe about 30 million or so to be able to work with. We're going to try to acquire a reliable starting pitcher, someone that we can use to be able to supplement or be with Kunkel as we move forward into the next season. Now, we're going to have to hope and pray we find somebody good. I don't know if we will, but if we can find anybody that doesn't cost us an arm and a leg and a first round draft pick and some international, salary money, we'll do what we can about that. For season goals, we've had some changes. I know that the owner was really happy about Kapler, Gabe Kapler being still on the team and his development and then a bunch of other stuff. But we noticed the coaching staff was actually unhappy. We have gotten better and better every single season, and every single off season, I double check the coaching staff, and their happiness is unhappy. They are not working well together. So we did some decision makings. Of course, Lucas Giolito retired. He had told us he was going to. He ends up retiring after he got released by the Rockies, of course, by ourselves. This year, we were happy to have him for the 2.5 seasons. He did very well. Happy to see him be able to leave, hopefully on a good note at least. And we went ahead and let Gabe Kapler walk. We let him walk. We let Josh Seed walk, which was our third base coach. And we overhauled our entire personnel listing. Okay? And I wanted to talk a little bit about this because there were some very interesting developments that we did. The first thing we noticed was that our staff cohesion was unhappy. We had some people who were just struggling with some of the people we had, and we didn't really have anybody who worked well with other people in the system. And so we basically fired everybody. I think the only person we kept was the first base coach, I want to say. Yes, I think Nelson Rosario is the only person who was on the original staff. Yes. And maybe our team trainer for 2 years because he's pretty good. I like him so far. We got a new scouting director with Wade Hinkle. He's outstanding in everything. We're going to be relying on him a little bit more. We got a new third base coach in Juan Griffin. He has a little bit better of I believe, relationship with some of the players, but then he's also still really good for all of his in-game and teaching abilities. He's good for that. He'll be good for our third base position. Nelson Rosario was, I believe, still pretty good with the relationships. Yeah, and we liked him being there, so he's good of them, and he's still got those really good teaching abilities. So we wanted to keep him on the squad. Michael Thompson is going to be our new hitting coach. His relationships are better with our batters than our previous one was, and that's what's kind of was one of our biggest reasons is that we had noticed that the relationships with certain players was not good. And if we want to be able to have good development, it doesn't matter if you have really good legendary teaching ability. If the player relationship is not as good, it's going to hinder the player's ability to develop. So we went ahead and actually searched for hitting coaches this time around that had not only the good hitting ability and even like handles development, handles mechanics, handles aging, as you can see here from Michael Thompson. We also wanted somebody who actually had good relationships with our players. And the most important one was Brad Williams. We wanted somebody who has an excellent relationship with Larry Kunkel. That is the big one. I really don't care about Imanaga, Dollander. I don't care about, Hampton, Martinez, Rodriguez, Flores. It's going to be all important about Kunkel. Can we develop him into the ace pitcher that he's supposed to be? So we're going all in on good relationships with Kunkel, and we're hoping that his development goes well. He's going to have fair relationship with our new manager, Tori Lavello, but he has an excellent relationship with our pitching coach, Brad Williams, and I'm hoping that that's going to trump anything that the manager is going to be able to have problems with. Chad Harvikston is going to be our bench coach for the season. Again, another person who is all about the relationships, but he also has some pretty good abilities to handle development. His mechanics aren't that good, but he'll handle aging pretty well. And he also, again, is going to be able to help out with some of the teaching abilities as well. Torey Lavello is our new manager for the Colorado Rockies. He comes to us from the Diamondbacks. He was there for many, many seasons, about 11 years. He had been released back in 2028, I believe, after the D-backs had just won the World Series the previous year and then had managed to only win 84 games in the next season because, of course, we took over in 2027. So his relationships are excellent. The only problem he has is Larry Kunkel being average. So everybody else is going to love Lavello. It's going to be okay for Kunkel. He likes the pitching coach. I want that to be more important. But Lavello is excellent on all the things that I need him to be excellent in, and he's already a good reputation, and he works well with our staff. So Lavello's our new manager moving forwards. He's 64 years of age. I don't see him lasting more than maybe 7, maybe 10 years at most. But that would still be fine to have him be in the system for that long. So all that to say, our chemistry is still good for our players. We still have a lot of good people now who are in good relationships versus, say, maybe more average relationships. So the ecstatic team chemistry still there. We're hopeful that the staff roles will be a little bit nicer this time. We'll have some more improvements on our staff cohesion. Maybe that will help us with some stuff. But then, of course, we still have our teaching roles all in the outstanding or legendary abilities, and that is important as well. Oh, and we are offering a new GM, Bill Knight, to come in and be our new GM. Just some of the things about him were a little bit better with his personality, and so we will not be having Jose Escoto be our GM or our assistant GM moving forwards. But basically, just kind of felt like as if the season had not gone as well as I was hoping to. Our development hadn't been quite there what I wanted it to be. And cleaning house was kind of one of the ways in which I just felt like I could kind of reset our team, our mentality moving into the next season, and try to just focus on what is important and what we need to do for next season to be successful and actually to win it all. And hopefully be able to get started on this dynasty because we are in dynasty mode for the next 2 seasons. We will be, of course, having Riley Green and Bobby Witt for the next 2 seasons until 2031. Will Vest will be here till 2031. Tovar is going to be here till 2031. Amador, Doyle, Martinez, Romo, Condon. We have a lot of people who are going to be here, Rada as well, who are going to be here for the long haul. We need to be winning now. And unfortunately, that has rushed our development. We've made some poor decisions. We'll talk about that in a second here. I'll let you guys see all of the bad mistakes I've been making. But we really wanted to kind of refocus the team, get it operational for this season, and see what we can get out of our club. For the top 100 prospects list, of course, the Kunkel still number 2. I don't know how Chris Cannon keeps beating him out as the number 1 overall prospect in baseball. I don't see it, but then again, maybe I'm just blind. So we'll see about that. We are now officially still No, 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 we're tied for fourth, tied for third, if you want to call it that, with the New York Mets in system rankings at this point. So it's averaging out now that everyone's starting to get some time to draft better players, and people are starting to get their players developed. We're still looking to see if John Marin can get back to the Mike Trout level, but he ended up playing 29 games with the Oakland Athletics this season, and he did okay. So we'll have to see what happens with the center fielder here for the Oakland Athletics. I still really wish I could have picked him up somehow, but I just don't think it ever been possible. We are, of course, into arbitration. We've had our development facilities opened up. We've gone ahead and already started our development lab. Oh, no, I haven't. My apologies. I'll be doing that immediately after this video here is done. We are going to be recalculating our budgets as well, and then potentially refocusing some of our scouting because now we finally have an international person who's outstanding. We might be able to get some better international discoveries at this point. So hang tight on that, and we'll see what we can do about all that. But otherwise, again, we did lose in the playoffs, unfortunately. We are expected to not really lose anybody big in the offseason, but New York Yankees win the World Series here in 2029. We fall 3-0 in the division series, mostly because we just didn't have anything besides just a whole lot of offense. And that will only carry you so far. So hopefully in the 2029 offseason and into the 2030 preseason, we'll be able to get some good pitching. I will let you all know exactly what we're able to do, what shenanigans we can come up with, and maybe we'll be able to keep our really good hitting scheme going forwards into the future, and maybe start to get some really good pitching to go alongside it. I will see you all in the next episode.